Coming up, the Ministry of Health giving the latest statistics on COVID-19. Local hotels share how this pandemic is affecting business. And no food shortage in Abaco. Hear what one local grocery store manager has to say. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Shashina Rowe-Farquharson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, the Ministry of Health wrapping up its latest coronavirus press conference just a few minutes ago. The Ministry of Health giving a national update on the COVID-19 pandemic while providing more details on the deaths related to this pandemic. Well, tonight he also shares the way forward on testing for those who may have contracted this global virus. The Minister of Health, Dr. Dwayne Sands, telling the country that there have been 9 deaths related to COVID-19, and the number of infected persons now stands at 54.
During this COVID-19 fight, we have lost 9 people. Our condolences go out to the family of the latest victim and to the families of the 8 other people who lost their lives to this virus. Let us keep these families in our prayers in their time of grief. Earlier today, the Ministry of Health confirmed an additional case of COVID-19, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the Bahamas to 54. That's 45 in New Providence, 7 in Grand Bahama, 1 in Bimini, and 1 in Cat Key. Currently, there have been 668 samples tested for COVID-19, 54 of which have tested positive, an increase of 1 from yesterday.
Going in depth, the minister also broke down the deaths related to the coronavirus, adding that the ages range from 57 to 91. 7 of the cases, he says, had underlying illnesses, which ranged from obesity, high blood pressure, sleep apnea, asthma, and kidney failure.
Case number 17, a 67-year-old female from New Providence. Number 18, a 72-year-old male, also from New Providence. Number 20, a 91-year-old male from New Providence. Number 21, a 57-year-old female from Bimini. Number 22, a 79-year-old male from New Providence. Case number 23, an 80-year-old male from Grand Bahama. Number 31, a 50-year-old male from New Providence. Number 40, a 51-year-old female from Grand Bahama. And number 41, a 56-year-old female from New Providence.
And going forward, he says the Ministry of Health will expand testing.
Contacts of active cases, nursing home patients, those in prison, and healthcare workers. Expanded testing is critical for us to have an increased understanding of this pandemic in the Bahamas, so we can plan and prepare to protect these vulnerable populations. To determine our COVID-19 positive cases and to gauge community spread, it's important to have a sustained testing mechanism.
In other news, pharmacies can also open on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. for essential workers. Grocery stores, wholesale grocers, and bakeries and water production companies can also restock supplies. Propane gas companies and irrigation personnel can also conduct business this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. In Grand Bahama, non-governmental water production companies and depots, waste disposal and sanitation services, construction work at the Rand Memorial Hospital, and well drilling by Walk Construction can operate during the national lockdown. Now, gas stations in Grand Bahama can also open between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. Non-governmental water production companies can open in Abaco as well as gas stations between the hours of 6 a.m. p.m. and 7 p.m. to refuel generators. The emergency orders maintain that every individual must wear a mask over their nose and mouth once they leave their residence, and physical distancing protocols must be adhered to. Well, as the world continues to fight the battle against COVID-19, many industries have been affected, especially those within the tourism sector. Tourism is, of course, the country's #1 industry, and as a result, the Bahamas is already suffering a major blow. Well, here on Grand Bahama, some hotels are still in operation, but they say safety is their #1 priority during this period. Italia Hall has more.
Businesses in most countries across the world have come to a halt due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and it is no different here in the Bahamas. Many hotels across the country have had to close their doors, and in some instances, some Bahamians employed at those hotels lost their jobs. Here on Grand Bahama, some hotels are still open for business, but there are limitations. At the Pelican Bay Resort, General Manager Magnus Alnebeck says, at this time, there are only 3 rooms occupied at the resort, and those occupants are corporate guests.
Those guests are all well. We are not taking bookings unless it is that type of guest. It is somebody who needs to be here for essential work. That is the type of bookings we are taking. Obviously, Sabor and Bones is closed. We are doing some limited takeout from Sabor. And doing that in accordance to demand and obviously following all rules and protocol that the government has put in place for us.
He says cleaning efforts increased throughout the resort, and they are now taking this time to prepare for when the country reopens.
We have basically shut down 3 buildings totally. We have taken the opportunity of doing some work that is normally very difficult to do when the hotel is open. We have, for example, flooded the whole hotel with pest control spraying. We have shut down our cooling towers and done some serious maintenance and de-liming of those. So we are doing the work that we are allowed to do in making sure that the hotel will be as ready as possible when we will be able to.
Bell Channel Inn is still open, but only for guests who were staying at the hotel before the emergency orders were put into effect.
We have only 10% occupancy, so they're still, but we are not taking new guests in. We don't really feel that it's safe for the staff here to go and clean the rooms and do the laundry. So we want to limit the exposure. So it's only 10% occupancy.
Manager Lisbeth Knowles says their restaurant is still open for business, but for takeout only, and persons can call in their order.
We'll call them when it's ready. We will ask them how they will pay, credit card or cash, and we will bring the change or the credit card machine down to the car. They put it up in front of the lobby, and we bring them the food to the car.
Over at the Taino Beach Resort, according to an employee, there are no guests and the resort is closed. The Royal Islander Hotel occupancy level is at 17% and is open to the public, but persons must have all of the necessary protective gear. Management says the hotel is also doing their part to ensure that cleaning is done around the clock. Now, we also spoke with an employee at the Old Bahama Bay Resort who says they are closed and do not have any guests at this time. Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
Thank you, Tally. Well, the Disaster Reconstruction Authority issuing an update on the restoration of Wi-Fi services to Grand Key. The DRA extends its appreciation to BTC for restoring the essential services and for providing free Wi-Fi service to Grand Key residents since October 2019. And several NGOs providing food to residents in Abaco after Hurricane Dorian, but most were forced to depart the island as a result of the very contagious COVID-19 virus, leaving many who were dependent on those nonprofit organizations to rely on other sources for food. Well, in this report, we hear from the manager of a local grocery store who says although the virus has made a bad situation worse, there is no shortage of food on the island. Hermiko Knowles picks up that story.
Maxwell Grocery Store is one of the island's major food suppliers. Manager Chad Sawyer says when the government initiated a curfew and lockdown, there was a bit of panic buying occurring. But when persons realized that there was no shortage of food, things returned to normal.
You know, you got to realize that we just came out of a hurricane, so we panicked on that. And so now we panicked on the COVID-19. And now people are realizing, like, hey, you know what? There ain't no reason to panic. We got food. You know, the lines are very controllable. The first week what was that? The week we shut down the first time? That was, the first day or so was a little hectic, getting people to stay there 6 feet and all of that, and wash their hands before they come in the store. But now people's got it.
Based on the information given to him by their suppliers, Sawyer says he's confident that they are capable of meeting the food demand for quite some time.
Well, this is a very liquid thing. It changes every day. But so far there's not been a problem, and we don't foresee a problem. There's no food shortage in Abaco. A lot of our food supply comes through the local vendors in Nassau, and a lot of it out of the U.S. And we've had no trouble getting shipments of food in. Our stock is good. Every week we've got containers rolling in and out. There's no need for any alarm as far as, running out of food. Not a problem.
Sawyer thanks the many nonprofit organizations that were on the ground providing food. He says many of them had to leave as a result of the coronavirus, but he says they do plan to return.
World Food, World Central Kitchen, Arts and Hands, the Samaritan's Purse. I can't even remember all of them. I don't want to call them all because you can miss some, but wonderful jobs. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I don't know where we would have been without them, and I know that a lot of them left because of the virus and left their stuff there for people to watch it and take care of it, and when this all passes, they plan on coming back to continue helping the people.
He says things are never perfect in the grocery business, but reiterates that there is no shortage of food. Ramiko Knowles, ZNS Network News.
Well, Family Island Administrator for Bimini and Cat Key, Cleola Pinder, updating our news team on the conditions on that northern island. Pinder says that it is relatively quiet and that residents are indeed adhering to the emergency orders. She also gave an update on the island's food supply.
Well, we basically have two mailboats that come in. We have the local mailboat from Nassau that comes in basically on Thursdays, but unfortunately it's not coming until Friday. And then we have the U.S. boat that also comes in on Thursdays, and it's not coming until Friday. I believe the Monday holiday probably delayed them by a day. So we probably be a little challenge in terms of getting the items off the boat and into the stores so persons can purchase them. But we do have food. It comes in every week, so the mailboat service has not stopped.
Now, Bimini is referred to as the gateway of the Bahamas, and she says that persons there are experiencing some economic challenges due to the closure of many tourist-based businesses. The annual Bimini Regatta was also canceled this month due to the pandemic.
When it was first announced that it would have been postponed, everybody was really disappointed, but they understood why. It's a little challenging right now in terms of funds. Persons are expressing the fact that it's really difficult. But with the government intervention with respect to social services as well as the unemployment benefit should help ease some of the discomfort that's been experiencing right now with not being able to work, because as you know, Bimini is really a tourist destination. The cruise port is here in Bimini, and also we have a cruise port in Ocean Key, and a number of persons work in the hospitality industry, and so yes, they are definitely feeling the pinch right now.
Well, in news from the crime beat, police officials say 2 wanted men have surrendered and turned themselves into local police stations here in Grand Bahama. An all-points bulletin was issued earlier this week for 40-year-old Derek Tanner Demerit of number 206 Golden Dew Loop, Wellington Pinder Heights, and Malibu Reef. And today a wanted poster was circulated for 19-year-old DeAndre Mallory of number 67 Trotter Avenue. Both Mallory and Demerit have both surrendered to police. Meantime, the search is still on for two men. Police say they need your help in locating 33-year-old Rashard Smith, aka Chicken, of number 13 Barbados Drive, Freeport. He is wanted by police for stealing. He is described as slim-built, medium brown complexion, 6 feet 4 inches, weighing around 195 pounds, with a low haircut and mustache. Also, police need your help in locating 16-year-old Elaine Cidion. He is also described as standing at 5 feet 6 inches tall, weighing 120 pounds, with dark brown complexion and slim build. His last known address is Livingston Drive, Pioneers Way West, Grand Bahama. Now, if you have any information on the whereabouts of Rashard Smith or Elaine Cidion, you are asked to contact police at 911, 919, or 350-3014 or 6, or your nearest police station. And coming up in the news, Halo Designs investing in mass production. That story when we return.